Hi, I'm Jeannie Griffiths. This is my 7th year teaching here at Elder Quest. This is 7 in Chinese. I teach cultural geography. There are 195 countries in the world. Each year I pick a new country where we study the history, the culture, the geography, and other important aspects about that country. My class will begin Tuesday, September 12th at 11 a.m. This year we will be studying Russia. And you may say, wait a minute, didn't we study Russia last year? Yes, we did. But Russia is such a huge country with a very long history. We didn't get very far. Last year, we only got to World War I, so we have the whole century to cover in this coming semester. Let me tell you about my first introduction to Russia. My husband and I were living in Beijing when we went to pick up our son after he served a mission in Russian-speaking Ukraine. So we have visited the exact same spots that have now been bombed to smithereens by the Russians. Moscow is one of the most expensive cities in the world, and we couldn't afford to pay the $400 a night hotel fee. So we opted to visit Moscow for just one very expensive day. We arrived on a red-eye flight, arriving at Moscow at 4:30 in the morning. Now, since cultural geography is the name of this class, we have, of course, going to look at Russia's geography. So let's do a quick comparison between the geography of the U.S. and that of Russia. The U.S. is rich with lots of resources, including a surprisingly overabundance of excellent agricultural soil, which has made us the food basket of the world. In the Book of Mormon, when the Nephites were told they were going to the Promised Land, that was indeed true. The American continent is one of the best pieces of real estate in the whole world. Not so true for Russia. Russia is geographically the largest country in the world, but it has been terribly disadvantaged by its horrible geography. Its huge size often creates headaches for the nation. It's the largest country in the world. It's also the coldest country in the world. Most of its land is agriculturally unusable, and unlike our extensive river system, including our incredible Mississippi River, Russia has a shortage of rivers. And to make it worse, most of them are going in the wrong direction. They're flowing north to the Arctic Ocean, which makes them completely economically useless. Russia, despite its 23,000 miles of coastline, doesn't even have one warm water port on the European side of the country where everyone lives. That means it has no direct access to an ocean. So for practical purposes, it's a landlocked nation. Now, here's looking at the map of Russia. And you may ask, what are you talking about? Russia's not landlocked at all. They have oceans on two sides of their country. Yes, they do. But the Arctic Ocean on the north side is always frozen, so it can't be used. And the far eastern side of the nation, over by Japan, look at that nice long coastline on the Pacific Ocean. The problem is it's 4,000 miles away from the population center of the country. If you look at that second map, it gives a better idea of where Moscow is, 4,000 miles away. Now, let's look at the U.S. map. We have 88,000 miles of coastline, and every part of it is usable. The dark blue shows the coastline on the Pacific, the Atlantic, and the Gulf of Mexico, as well as we also have Alaska and Hawaii at the bottom. The light blue are the 7 U.S. states located on the Great Lakes, the largest freshwater lakes in the world. Now, we're not done yet with Russia's terrible geography. Let's talk about one more disadvantage that very much affects its policies today. Despite its huge size, Russia has no natural borders to protect the country. Switzerland has the Alps. The UK has the English Channel that saved them from the Nazis in World War II. The US has 2 large oceans on both sides of the country that protect us. So how does Russia protect itself from its enemies? Which enemies, including NATO? Let's look at the next map. Their only defense has been used historically as well as to the present, and that is to create buffer states. The map on the left shows Imperial Russia and how they added other countries to their empire over the years. The map on the right shows all the European bloc nations that were added after World War II and under Soviet influence. Besides furthering their sphere of influence, the Soviets could finally feel safe knowing their enemies would have to go through all those buffer states before they could reach Moscow. And who, by chance, is currently the most important buffer state in Russia? Ukraine. Russia could not afford to have an enemy on its doorstep with no protection, so they invaded Ukraine. Don't you learn interesting things in this class? I think you'll agree, well, we will have an exciting semester together, and I hope you can join us when we start classes on Tuesday, September 12th.